Welcome back to Washington Watch. I'm Tony Perkins, your host. So good to have you with us. The website, tonyperkins.com. Hey, you want to stay in touch with us, text the word STAND to 67742. That's 67742, the word STAND. That way you don't have to worry about social media cutting us off. You'll be in touch with us. All right, as I mentioned yesterday, the Senate entertaining, or actually a hearing, it was entertaining, a hearing for the Biden administration Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona. And Rand Paul began to really ask him about something that's on most Americans' minds when it comes to what is happening with the president and the push by Democrats of transgendering our schools. I want you to listen to this clip. It's a more extended clip than I played earlier of Rand Paul and his exchange with Dr. Cardona.
Do you worry about having boys running girls' track meets?
You know, I recognize and appreciate the concerns and the frustrations that are expressed. I've, as Commissioner of Education, have had conversations with families who have felt the way you just described it, and families of students who are transgender. So I understand that this is a challenge. I look forward to working with you and others to.
Do you think it's fair to have boys running in the girls' track meet?
I think it's appropriate I think it's the legal responsibility of schools to provide opportunities for students to participate in activities, and this includes students who are transgender.
So you don't have a problem then with boys running in the girls' track meet, swimming meets, name it. You're okay then with boys competing with girls?
Respectfully, Senator, I think I answered the question. I believe schools should offer the opportunity for students to engage in extracurricular activities, even if they're transgender. I think that's their right.
All right. Well, a lot of us think that that's bizarre.
I would be among them. That is bizarre. Join me now to talk about it, Florida Congressman Greg Steube. He represents the 17th Congressional District of Florida. Congressman, welcome back to the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So is Rand Paul correct? A lot of people think it's bizarre?
I think bizarre is one way to put it. I mean, I would say it's a lot stronger. I would say it's dangerous. Because not only are you going to have biological men competing with biological women, but they'll also be in the women's locker room. They'll be in the women's showers. They'll be in the women's facilities to get ready for the track meet as a biological male in some of these places. And there are a lot of Democrats that obviously have problems with their daughters being in locker rooms and showers with biological men who the only requirement is that they identify as a woman that day to compete in whatever sport it is. So I'd take it a step farther and say it's dangerous not only to America and what is women's sports, but to our young girls who compete.
And we're talking about track here, but it's not just track. We're talking about every sport that women compete in.
Yeah, it's everything. I mean, you heard Ron Paul kind of talk about swimming, and it's everything. And when we dealt with this last year in the Judiciary Committee, a lot of the instances I brought up was UFC fighting, boxing. One of the examples I gave was a biological male who was, quote unquote, identifying as a woman and was in a female boxing match and broke the eye socket of the woman boxer. You have people like Navratilova and other tennis people that say this is going to completely demolish all of the Title IX protections that we have had for women's sports because we have created them specifically for women to compete.
Bizarre, dangerous, but also, as I was talking earlier with Senator Wicker about the science of the life issue, there's science here that says men and women are different. They're different physiologically, they're different physically, and it does make it dangerous because men and women are different.
Yeah, and I went through all of that last year in the hearing when I tried to file an amendment to take this out of what they called the Equality Act last year that the Democrats called that passed through the House, was to look at the actual science. It is uncontroversial that men are stronger, they are bigger, they can compete because of the different hormones and the muscle size that men have over women. That is a scientific fact. And to just ignore that, if that's so-called the Democrats are the party of science, just shows you that this is 100% a political agenda for them. This is a political item for them, and they don't care about women's sports. Because if they did care about women's sports, they wouldn't allow biological men to compete against women. And these, I mean, think about college students wanting to get, or high school students wanting to get college scholarships for athletics. They now have to compete against biological men for that scholarship for track at the University of Florida. And that's what these actions that have been taken by the Democrats are now putting biological men in women's sports, and they're taking those opportunities from these young women.
How is that fair?
Exactly.
It's not fair at all. I think it's even beyond the politics. I think it's deconstruction at its heart of Western civilization. But you have a measure. You're not giving up on this. You're continuing to fight. What's the way forward here?
Yeah, we have filed another bill. Obviously, I'm not optimistic in a democratically controlled House that this bill is going to move, but I feel very confident that Republicans are going to take the House back in 2022. So this bill will be teed up. I'm still on the Judiciary Committee. That's the committee of reference. That would be the bill that would move this bill through the process. And this bill would just make it abundantly clear that a biological man cannot compete in Title IX sports. And if they do, that school that takes Title IX money, which all colleges and universities do, would lose their federal funding.
Mm-hmm. In the meantime, Congressman, the good news is that states are not going to wait. They're going to move forward. We have states moving forward with these measures now, saying, what is this nonsense? They're going to protect women's sports. So through the leadership of congressmen like you that are making this an issue, it is giving impetus to the efforts at the state level. So we applaud you for the efforts and look forward to seeing it progress, if not in this Congress, in the next.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time.
All right. Congressman Greg Steube, thanks so much for being with us.